Welcome to our channel. We're so glad you're here to join us for this incredible story. Whether you're watching from the comfort of your home or from somewhere far and exciting, we'd love to hear where you're tuning in from. Drop a comment below and let us know. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss an unforgettable moment. We've got something special lined up for you tomorrow, and trust me, you won't want to miss it. So sit back, relax, and let's dive into today's story together. The moment the Royal Guard broke protocol for a disabled child, Liam Anderson, a 9-year-old boy, had always dreamed of experiencing something extraordinary. Sitting in his wheelchair outside the magnificent Buckingham Palace, he felt an excitement that was hard to contain. For as long as he could remember, Liam had admired the British Royal Guards, those stoic figures in their bright red tunics and tall, black bearskin hats. To him, they were the epitome of bravery, tradition, and discipline. He had seen them on TV, in books, and even in toy form, but nothing compared to the thought of seeing one up close. This was his moment, the dream he'd had since he could remember. His mother, a gentle woman with a soft smile, stood behind him, her protective hands resting on the back of his chair. She shared in his excitement, but also in his frustration. As the crowd around them swelled, she could sense the growing pressure, the people pushing and jostling to get a better view of the ceremony. It was chaotic, and Liam, with his small frame and limited mobility, could hardly see past the legs and arms of the strangers crowding around him. Still, he never gave up his gaze, his eyes fixed on the royal guard in the distance. Liam's heart raced as he whispered to himself, "He's so brave. I wish I could be like that." But as the minutes ticked by, his excitement began to falter. The guards were so far away, and his view was obstructed by a wall of people. His hands gripped the armrests of his chair as he tried to steady his trembling nerves. His mother, sensing his growing disappointment, tried to shift him slightly, hoping to give him a better view. But every time she made a move, it seemed someone else was taking her place, pushing closer and closer, ignoring her gentle requests to let her son see. The frustration was palpable, and Liam's dream of seeing the guard up close felt like it might slip away. But still, he held on to that small glimmer of hope. After all, this was Buckingham Palace, the heart of tradition, and surely the royal guard would remain as steadfast as the dream he held in his heart. As Liam's excitement began to fade, his attention remained fixed on the royal guard in the distance, still standing tall and unmoving. But just as he thought his hopes were slipping away, a new tension started to rise in the crowd around him. The air became thick with frustration as people began to shove and elbow their way toward the front. Liam's mother, who had been doing her best to protect him, felt a knot form in her stomach. She could see the rude, impatient tourists pushing past her, oblivious to the little boy in the wheelchair. One man in particular caught their attention. He was carrying a large camera bag, and his aggressive demeanor made it clear that he had one goal in mind: getting the perfect shot. Move it, he barked, pushing people aside without a second thought. Liam's mother tried to explain that her son was in a wheelchair, that he couldn't just move out of the way, but her words were drowned out by his rude response. "I didn't come all the way here to stand behind a kid in a chair," he scoffed, completely dismissing her. The crowd around them shifted uncomfortably, whispers growing louder as others began to notice the tension. People started to intervene, politely asking the man to calm down, but he only scoffed and ignored them. He was determined to get his shot, no matter who or what he had to push aside. The situation was escalating quickly, and Liam's mother felt helpless as she tried to shield him from the growing conflict. Liam, clutching his small Union Jack flag, could feel his heart sink. His simple wish to see the royal guard up close seemed to be slipping further away with every rude word and jostle. Just when it seemed like things couldn't get worse, the photographer took it even further. He began mocking the royal guard's stoic stance, making faces and posing for selfies right in front of Liam. The tension in the air was palpable, and the crowd waited, holding their breath. What would happen next? Would the royal guard, known for his unshakable discipline, remain unmoved by this provocation? Or would something unexpected happen that would change everything? The moment hung in the balance, and nobody could predict what would unfold. As the photographer continued his relentless antics, the tension in the air reached a boiling point. He had pushed Liam's wheelchair, mocked the royal guard, and now he was getting dangerously close to the soldier's post. The crowd was holding its breath, sensing that something monumental was about to happen. Liam's mother stood frozen, her heart racing, torn between the need to protect her son and the fear that this was about to spiral out of control. Liam, clutching his Union Jack flag, looked up at the stoic figure of the royal guard. His eyes, filled with anticipation, desperately searched for a sign of empathy, a sign that someone, anyone, was paying attention. And then, just as everyone thought the moment would pass without consequence, it happened. The Royal Guard, Sergeant Chris Williams, shifted ever so slightly, breaking his flawless stance. It was a subtle movement, just enough to catch the eye of those watching. The crowd gasped. Had he really moved? Everyone held their breath as they waited for the next move. Would the guard stay in formation and ignore the growing chaos? Or would he break the centuries-old tradition of unmoving discipline? Without a moment's hesitation, Sergeant Williams stepped off his post, directly toward the photographer who had been causing all the trouble. The crowd went silent, and the air was thick with anticipation. The guard's every step was calculated, his every move deliberate. As he closed the distance between himself and the troublemaker, the photographer froze, suddenly realizing the weight of what he had just provoked. For the first time, his arrogance faltered, and he took a step back. But it was too late. The guard, towering over him, stood unyielding, a symbol of power and authority. Sergeant Williams didn't speak a word. Instead, he raised a hand, making a firm, commanding gesture for the photographer to stop. In that instant, the entire crowd seemed to exhale at once. The photographer's bravado melted away, his face flushing with embarrassment as he realized the magnitude of his actions. Liam, watching all of this unfold, couldn't believe his eyes. The guard, his hero, was standing up for him. For the first time that day, he felt seen, not just as a boy in a wheelchair, but as someone worthy of respect. The tension in the air began to ease, but there was still one more surprise waiting for everyone. The crowd stood in stunned silence as Sergeant Chris Williams continued to face the photographer, his towering figure radiating authority. The tension was so thick that it felt like time had stopped. No one had expected this. No one had expected the Royal Guard to step away from his post to break protocol in such an astonishing way. But there he was, standing between Liam and the photographer, not a word spoken, but every movement conveying the power of his presence. For a moment, it felt like the situation could escalate again. The photographer, humiliated but still brimming with defiance, took a step back, but his bravado had already crumbled. His earlier arrogance had disappeared, replaced by uncertainty. What would the guard do next? The crowd waited with bated breath, unsure of what would happen in the next few seconds. Then, in a shocking turn of events, the photographer, still holding onto his camera, tried to step closer to Liam's wheelchair, perhaps hoping to get one last shot. But Sergeant Williams was ready. With a steady hand, he motioned for the man to stop, this time with a gentle but firm push of authority. His eyes locked onto the photographer's, and for a brief second, it was as if the entire world had narrowed down to that one moment. The photographer backed off, now fully aware of the line he had crossed. The crowd, which had been holding its breath in anticipation, exhaled collectively. But the real surprise came next. Instead of staying in his position, stoic and motionless as Royal Guards are known to do, Sergeant Williams knelt down beside Liam. His rifle, still in hand, remained firmly gripped, but the guard's posture softened as he looked directly at Liam. The little boy, who had been crushed by the chaotic events of the day, now found himself staring up at the very figure he had admired for so long. The guard's eyes, while still filled with the sternness of duty, now held a glimmer of kindness. He placed his gloved hand gently on Liam's armrest, offering a silent gesture of comfort. The crowd, still reeling from the unexpected turn of events, watched in awe as the guard spoke softly to Liam, breaking his silence with the words, "Are you all right, young man?" The simple question, laced with empathy, was enough to melt away the tension that had gripped the entire scene. It was a gesture that no one had expected, but would remember forever. The moment felt like a dream, one that would forever be etched in the memories of those who witnessed it. The crowd, still in awe of what had just unfolded, was left speechless as Sergeant Chris Williams knelt beside Liam, offering a moment of kindness that defied all expectations. The boy, who had spent most of the day feeling invisible, now found himself the center of attention, not because of the ceremony, but because of the compassion shown by the very soldier he had admired from afar. Liam's mother, who had been anxiously watching the events unfold, pressed a hand to her chest in disbelief. Her eyes filled with gratitude. She had come to see her son's dream fulfilled, but nothing had prepared her for this. As the guard gently squeezed Liam's hand, a wave of whispers rippled through the crowd, and for a fleeting moment, Buckingham Palace felt less like an impenetrable symbol of royalty and more like a place of profound human connection. The people around them, tourists, families, and even those who had witnessed the photographer's rude behavior, were all struck by the power of the guard's gesture. It wasn't just about the ceremony anymore. It was about something much more meaningful, something that would stay with everyone there long after the day had ended. Liam, tears welling in his eyes, finally found his voice. "I just wanted to see you up close," he whispered, his words barely audible but full of sincerity. The guard gave a small nod, the faintest of smiles tugging at the corners of his mouth. "I'm just doing my job, sir," he responded, but the warmth in his voice said it all. For a moment, it felt as if the entire world had paused, just for them. Liam, who had been desperate to see his hero, had not only seen him, but had shared a moment of true connection. As the ceremony continued, Liam was moved to the front, where he could watch the soldiers march in perfect unison. The crowd, now more relaxed, couldn't help but applaud the unexpected act of compassion. It was a small gesture, yes, but one that would leave an indelible mark on everyone who had witnessed it. And as the guard returned to his post, his face returning to its stoic, disciplined expression, the event felt complete. The photographer, who had caused so much tension just moments before, was quietly escorted away, his earlier arrogance replaced with sheer embarrassment. In the days that followed, the video of the moment went viral. News outlets hailed the guard's actions as a reminder that kindness could transcend even the strictest of traditions. Buckingham Palace issued a statement acknowledging the significance of the moment. And for Liam, the experience was something he would never forget. It wasn't just about seeing the royal guard. It was about seeing the humanity behind the uniform. He had learned that sometimes, even the most rigid traditions could bend in the name of compassion. We'd love to hear from you. What do you think about the incredible moment we just shared? Was it worth it for the royal guard to break protocol for Liam? Do you believe that compassion should come before tradition, especially in situations like this? We know this act of kindness touched so many hearts, but we want to know how it made you feel. Was it a reminder for you that sometimes the smallest gestures can have the biggest impact? Or did it make you reflect on the balance between tradition and humanity? Whether you're from the UK or across the globe, your thoughts and opinions matter to us. Did you find this story inspiring? Do you think we need more moments like this in the world? Drop a comment below and let us know where you're watching from. We want to hear your take on this touching moment and how it might have changed the way you see not just the royal guard, but the power of kindness in our everyday lives. Don't forget to share this story with your friends or loved ones who might need a little inspiration. And remember to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of our future videos that bring you even more heartwarming stories. We can't wait to hear what you think.